everybody! Welcome to Arrow on Target. We are your hosts.
You can find us online at StayOnTargetPodcast.com.
That's right, Chris.
Did you say Stay on Target or Arrow on Target?
I think I don't remember. Let's just say it's been a long day of some technical difficulties.
This is true.
On my side of things.
This
so
is
yeah.
true.
Anyway, what was that?
So what did you think of tonight's episode? Or wait, last night's episode?
So I really liked it. But, like, we're going on, like, a break. And, like, both Stephen Amell on his Facebook.
After this one?
Yeah.
What?
I know. After Stephen Amell on his Twitter and then one of the producers, they both made a big deal about how, like, there's going to be a big twist and how it's going to be a break. And I didn't, like, so I went into this episode kind of with these preconceived notions of, like, what to expect. And it really wasn't what I expected.
No.
It didn't... It had, like, some action, and it had some cool things going on for it. And a lot of the cool action was actually in the flashbacks.
Right.
Which is cool, which is new. It actually felt like it kind of mattered a little bit. But we ended this episode on, like, a weird, like... It was basically a building episode. This is, like, a build to something.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like... the face-off that we've been looking for.
Well, you said it best off-air, like this is a setup episode for what comes next, but the problem is we have to wait 3 weeks or 2 weeks for what comes next, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah, very frustrating.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just seems weird to me. It just seems weird to me that this is the episode where we're about to take a couple of weeks and, like, be on break for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's start with the big setup. So... Ra's al Ghul has asked Oliver, I don't really even understand what he's really asking, to be the next Ra's al Ghul. Like, but what does that mean? He's going to let him kill him?
So...
Like, how do you become the next one, and what happens to the previous one?
So, and this is interesting, this is the very first thought that I had whenever this happened, and it was that this has happened to Batman. Mm-hmm. In the animated series, like the exact kind of same thing where it's like he approaches Roz and Roz makes him this offer and he says, "Hey, basically I'm kind of tired. I realize that I've been living a really long time and everything comes to an end. Why don't you become me?" Basically.
Why? What's Roz's motivation?
I mean, if you're immortal or if you have lived a really long time, I could imagine at some point you're just like,
Is he just going to step down?
I don't know. He's either going to step down or he's going to die.
And what's the point in this universe? Like, what function does Roz serve? Like, why does there have to be one? And why does it have to be, is it just, okay, you're the leader of the League of Assassins?
Yes.
That's
it? Basically. But, like, you are also the keeper of potentially this Fountain of Youth. I mean, there's a lot of, like... There's those types of things, but we haven't ever established the existence of said Fountain of Youth or the Lazarus Pits, as they're called,
right?
In this universe. Like, we just don't know. Like, he mentions numerous times in this episode that he's really old, or that, when was it? It was whenever Malcolm was there, and he's like, a century ago, and then half a century later, I ran into the same guy. And so obviously he's talking about he's really old. Or at least he's been around, or at least the legacy has been around, and somehow he has this knowledge, this kind of first-hand-ish knowledge about that. So, I mean, they've been alluding to a lot of things, and to me, it's like, in order for this to have a lot of weight, we need to know what this means. And right now, it's just confusing. Like, right now, like, it wasn't a big shocker, because, like, whenever Oliver got stabbed through the chest, it was a shocker. It was like, oh! Did they just kill him, or did they, what just happened?
Right.
And this didn't feel like a shocker to me. It felt very much like, I don't know, it was just like a big question mark at the end.
Like, that's kind of where I was at. Like, it's just kind of like, number one, this came out of the blue. Like, it's just kind of like, what in the world? And you don't understand Roz's motivations, so you're just kind of like, well, okay, I don't know why you're doing this, why you've chosen Oliver, why, like, he needs to be you. The other thing is, like, you don't know what that actually, like you said, you don't know what that actually means. What does that entail? What is that, like, what duties does that include? Like, are you performing birthdays, or, like, for small children in the village?
You bring your guys with the flame arrows to the birthday parties?
Does it mean, like, he could be the arrow, but instead of being the arrow for just Starling City, he could be the arrow for the world? Like,
okay, yeah,
what
that would
does
be like a
all this
Batman
mean?
Incorporated thing. Okay, so I don't know, man, because in this universe we haven't established any of this. Like, I mean, if I were to go into like, okay, I'm gonna assume that the comics and all the things with Ra's al Ghul exist in this world too. It's like that just seems really uncalled for at this point. Like we just don't know. It's like we haven't established what the purpose is, and that was a big problem that I had with whenever him and Diggle are assaulting this establishment.
This establishment. It's like it's a hotel.
This
compound.
Yeah, the compound. That makes it sound like it's like I don't know, some warehouse in the middle of nowhere.
No. Compound is like some giant facility where you do secretive things.
The cult house.
The cult house.
There you go. I don't know. Like whenever they're assaulting this thing, there's these guys with the flame, bow and arrows, and they're shooting at him. And they're trying to kill him, and then Diggle and him just kill all these dudes.
Yeah.
Like they just open fire on them, and I'm like, okay, we haven't really established what the League of Assassins is. I can extrapolate from the name that League of Assassins mean we assassinate people.
Yeah.
But assassin doesn't necessarily mean bad person. In the case of someone like Canary or like Sarah Lance, like she got sucked into this thing, and she even went back to them, and they were okay with that. I don't know, like it's
kind
just...
of. She always implied though that she didn't like what she had done there, or the person she had become because of it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's like we just all go in willy-nilly and we're just killing people all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Killing people with faceless ninjas.
That didn't really bother me just because, they are faceless ninjas. They're the red shirts, these are people that, they are bad. They're bad guys, quote unquote. And so, you just kill them.
And I guess that was the part, I don't know that we've established quite how bad these guys are. Like, I just don't feel like, other than...
Haven't we? I think we have.
Make your case.
They have tried to kill Oliver on multiple occasions, and if Oliver is our quintessential good guy, this is the person we root for, and these people are adamantly opposed to his point of view and who he is. Bad guys. Okay.
So I can see that. But it just seems like, I don't know, the motivation seems a little strange to me to now all of a sudden...
Plus they had Malcolm. He doesn't want him to kill Malcolm. He's going in to protect someone else's life.
I don't know. And that whole situation, how did you feel about that?
I thought it was weird that, he didn't see the fact that it's a trap coming.
Yeah.
I don't know. This was a very weird episode because it was such a hodgepodge of different things. You had that. You had
the whole Thea situation.
Yeah.
Thea, okay, so in my mind, at the beginning of the episode, I was like, Thea came up with the perfect solution to this problem that we have. And
Malcolm.
And even Malcolm, it's like, okay, so I was thinking, okay, Malcolm is just vicious enough to give up Thea and to tell Ra's about Thea, and I don't know that he will. And they established, Oliver was like, no, he won't do that anymore because he's not that guy, and I'm like, okay, so if he won't do that, just let him die. The dude is a terrible person.
That was a kind of a break in logic as well, because...
He's a mass murderer.
Well, before the mid-season break, that was the whole deal. He was protecting Thea because, man, Malcolm's just, he just threw her under the bus and said, hey, he's going to do... and so, if it was true then that Malcolm would use Thea as a meat shield, then it's true now. And so why all of a sudden has he had he says... She's his daughter and he loves her. Who cares? He hasn't treated her like that.
Well, and even whenever she was his daughter and he loved her before, he still made her kill one of her good friends.
Yeah.
And then lied to her about it and then used her as, like you said, a meat shield. That is just so, I'm just envisioning, this gigantic, pork shank or whatever that you're using as a shield or something. Super weird.
Oh yeah, he's even using her as a buffer against the League.
Yes.
And I don't see why
a meat shield, as it was.
Yeah, I don't see why that has changed since the last time that we discussed this issue.
I would agree. And so in that instance, it's that seems like that's a good easy out to actually go and get him. But they didn't use that out to go and get him out of there and to go and break him out. Because, the easy out would be, no, we need him in order to team up with him so it can protect us. If he's in there, he can't help us, and he's just going to get killed after admitting that Thea actually did this, and then they're going to come and wipe us out.
That was kind of all, Oliver kind of touched on that, but then he more so was she can't deal with turning in her father. I'm like, okay, that's fine, fine. We continue to harp on this, you don't know what it's like to kill a man, kind of theme on this show. And
This season, anyway.
even last season, whenever we were dealing with, like, does he kill or not? You know, are you a killer? Am I not a killer? Like,
it's true.
It's an old theme, so I see why they touch on it, because they always bring it up. But then it's like, this was also, like, Thea's decision. Like, one thing, and I think they, like, the characters on the show, I've told Oliver this before, like, he does not respect anyone's decisions.
No.
Like, you made a decision, too bad you're wrong, I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to fix it. You just wait here. You're going to thank me later.
You go stand in the corner while I fix this.
Yes, exactly.
While I clean this up.
And that's a lot of what he just does. I'm like, just like, dude, just, like, let him make a decision.
Chillax, man.
Exactly.
Chillax. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, okay. So the other thing is, okay, so if the League actually comes in and takes Malcolm, and obviously Roz knew that Oliver and Diggle would come running because he wanted to make Oliver this offer. And like you said, we don't know what is in it for Roz behind this offer, so we'll find that out maybe next episode. I almost said issue.
Yes.
There we go.
Next issue.
Anyway, but yeah, so like, well, we may find that out. I really enjoyed and I think we brought this up, that we would like to see some of this, the Roy and Thea relationship in this episode. Like, that was a cool character development moment between them. And it's very true to Thea's character to resist that the whole way.
Yeah.
For Roy to be, nice and to try to help, and then she reacts by saying, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
And because that's kind of like been her thing, is like whenever someone tries to help her and that sort of thing, no, you don't understand. These drugs, I've got to do them, and then no, you don't understand. Your situation is different than mine. So I mean, we've got that going on.
Another thing I didn't really like in this episode was how easily Laurel forgave her and got over the fact that she was the one who killed Sarah, because she's been dealing with this forever. And her goal for a long time was to find Sarah's killer. And she thought she had. She really hadn't.
Well, she did
all
this
that kind
time,
of stuff. Yeah, and now she has her, and she's like, "Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry. You weren't yourself." And there was no explanation.
What I mean
no explanation.
What I mean is, she had Sarah's killer in Malcolm, because Thea was just a weapon that Malcolm used to kill.
Agreed,
Sarah.
I think it was a miswritten scene, though, because even if she's going to immediately redirect her anger. Sorry. Redirect her anger.
You're redirecting my microphone into my face.
From Thea to Malcolm, then you would at least see some anger toward Malcolm in that scene.
Yeah.
And you see none of that either.
Well, you see her go from... Yeah, you're right. You see her go kind of into the caring mode, where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that to you. Faster than it maybe should have. But I do... She was in on the situation with Roy, correct?
No.
No, she didn't know any of that?
No. So this is a new concept to her. This mind control thing.
See, for some reason, I was under the assumption that she knew about Roy, but that wouldn't make any sense, because she wasn't really in the team per se at that point. Okay.
And then also the whole thing, I see where they've gone with it, but I also feel like it's very forced, where Roy's like, I know how you feel. I give this kid Christmas presents.
But that's totally Roy,
blah,
though.
blah, blah.
Like, that's totally Roy, and like, I totally. That's one of the reasons why I like his character, is because like all of a sudden, like, if he sees something, he's like, oh, I can relate to you. Ever since he's gotten over his angry stage, where he was just angry all the time, it's like he hasn't really come into his own, as far as, like, we've said this last week and stuff, where it has, what does he think for himself? He doesn't really think for himself. He says whatever Oliver thinks, or he says whatever Thea thinks, or he says whatever, the character of the day thinks. But the one thing that he does do is he tries to help. Like, I mean, he tries to help, and he tries to, come to terms with these things in his own way. It's like, I feel like this is an extension of that.
That's true.
And it would be very, very forced if Roy were to come up to you and be like, hey, I know how you feel. Because Roy is that character. He's the forced, he's the guy who, like, tries to tries to be
hard.
that guy. Yeah, he tries too hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so we left Thea, where Thea let Anissa out of the prison that they had her in.
Right.
And so I don't know where that's going to go. I don't think it's going to go where we expect, but I don't know where that's going to go. Because she didn't tell her really the truth, because she feels guilty right now and she wants to be punished or whatever.
Right.
And so, like, Thea is not really thinking clearly and hasn't really told Nyssa the whole story. I don't know, man. I just don't know where that's going to go. Like,
I think Nyssa's smart enough to figure it out, though, is the thing. I think she's smart enough to figure out that...
Plus, she hates Malcolm.
Yeah, she hates Malcolm.
Rightfully so,
Right.
dude.
Everyone should hate Malcolm.
Mass murderer.
I thought it was interesting to see Nyssa and Laurel connect a little bit. You know, like
cool.
About her sister. You know, that was a cool aspect to this episode.
Nyssa's entrance. There was no more bad A moment in this episode.
There wasn't, but then think about what just happened before that. Like, how long are we going to go on with Laurel just being just utterly stupid?
Oh, that's true.
Stupid.
Oh, that's true.
You know that Malcolm is this ultimate killer, ultimate fighter. He can take you out like with his eyes closed and one hand tied behind his back, and you're gonna try to take him on with your stupid moves. with your all of your how many weeks has exactly
she been, like 2 months with your 2 months worth of vigilante. It's like it's believable for her to be taking out like street crime and to be taking out even guys with guns or whatever. It's believable for her to be taking these people out, but a trained assassin who Oliver is like thinking might be able to beat
Ra's al
Ghul.
Yeah.
For her to take this
You're
guy.
going to take him on.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what her purpose was. She was just angry. And I think that's that Laurel anger that we wanted to see in the previous scene where she found out this.
Yeah.
But we didn't see until this scene. So it seemed like a logical jump.
Who was in on that? Somebody else was there as well.
Nyssa?
No. Besides that, like, how did he end up there?
Oh, I don't know. I think he was just walking through the streets.
I thought he had
like you do.
I thought one of the other Team Arrow, one of the other members of Team Arrow was in on that whole deal.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I really don't think so. Yeah. I will say that it was nice. It was satisfying for Nyssa to come in and basically tell Laurel. I loved the line, and I don't know if I typed it down, but I loved the line where she said, "It's honorable." Yeah, here it is. It's honorable that you want to avenge your sister, but it's over now. Consider her avenged. And she was just basically like, Laurel, what you're doing, I understand it, I respect it. Get away.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy. We've got this.
Yeah.
And so like that aspect of Nyssa I really enjoyed, and like just the like whenever she comes on and any of the episodes other than almost the first one. It's just she brings with her this weight, and brings with her like this like the heavy hitter is here, you know, that sort of thing. Where it takes Oliver to take her out, to wrap her up in one of those arrow cord things. So yeah. I mean that's basically the entire episode right there.
Yeah, the one thing we need to talk about was Ray Palmer.
Yes, and there are some news on that front.
Oh yes, we talked about
the news.
We talked about.
I don't know.
We talked about on our main podcast that the CW has picked up a straight to series order of The Atom. It's going to star Brandon Routh, Katie Lotz, which is weird because she's dead.
Isn't she dead?
Yeah.
Didn't we just talk about avenging her death?
We did.
Didn't we bury her?
So she's from Arrow. Then there's like one of the general. Or no, wait, hang on. It was. Should I pull this up?
Leonard Snart from Captain Cold.
Captain Cold, but then one of the professors or like.
It was one of the professors from Flash.
Flash, so like they're all going to be on this show together. It's like this is wild. This is cool.
Expanding the universe.
In terms of introducing a character on a television show and then spinning it off, I think they handled the Flash better than they're handling Atom.
And he was only in 2 episodes.
And exactly. And that's the thing. They had to be way more intentional about it. With this, it just feels like, well, he's the Atom, but who cares why? We don't know like what his motivations still are. Like we don't care about him. I do not care about the Atom.
Well, what's also funny about the Atom is like whenever he came on the scene, and I was one of the audience. Like the audience was split about whether he was charming or about whether he was kind of creepy and stalkerish whenever he first came on the scene. And so I think that the writers and they've been constantly battling that preconceived notion that we all got about his character off the bat. And so it's like constantly there's this like, oh, no, he's a good guy. No, he's a good guy. No, he's a good guy. And this was the very first episode whenever he's all tired and he's not in the the buttoned up suit and the that whole thing.
Right.
Or hitting on Felicity, half naked, which he was half naked for half of his screen time on this episode.
Right.
I mean, basically, this is the first episode where he's felt like a human being.
Right.
Where he's felt like, oh, he's he's sort of relatable. Every other time it's like, nah, this dude is not relatable whatsoever. He's, because Batman, relatable, despite the fact that he's a billionaire.
Right. He's
kind of relatable. Oliver, relatable, billionaire, or used to be, whatever. But this guy, totally not. Like, it totally, like, whenever they introduced him and how they introduced him, and he just is not down to earth at all. And in the way that he doesn't see, the awkwardness whenever he's causing it, or all of those things,
Even this, like, like, it kind of felt like a snap of the fingers, he's working on this thing, like, oh, all of a sudden it's done.
Well, he had his eureka moment.
Because he took a shower?
No, all he had to do was have sex, and then he had the idea.
Yeah, I mean, sure, fine. Ridiculous.
Just ridiculous. You're right. That is exactly what it is.
And in a show that's so grounded, he feels very ungrounded and feels out of place in this show.
Agreed. And it's like I mentioned. I was like, okay, that was fairly cheesy. And Catherine said, she was like, he's kind of a cheesy character. And it's like, yep. Yeah. That's very true. Something that Chris Dennison actually tweeted at us, and he said he has two conundrums about this. And I had
Superfan Chris Dennison.
Yeah, superfan Chris Dennison said this, and I really agree with you, Chris. I am wholeheartedly. I have these same conundrums. He has two conundrums. Let me read it from the tweets. And he says, conundrum number 1: Raish asking Ollie to take over was a cool twist. But they went this route on Batman Animated. That was exactly the first thought that I had. Mm-hmm. And he said, so it makes further makes it feel like Green Arrow and Batman are interchangeable in this universe.
And I'm okay with that. Like, we've always talked about how how Batman-esque this show feels, and I like that. Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily like them sharing storylines like this, but I like the overall thought behind it.
Correct. And he says, it reminds me of these guys in South Park. And he put a picture of Butters, and it's the Simpsons Did It episode. Yes. And then he says, conundrum number 2, the Atom suit looked badass, but it felt like Ray went from 0 to Atom in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's true as well.
And he says, I know they established that he's been working on it nonstop for a week, but it feels like they need the show to run, or needed to show more test runs. And he said, but then I suppose it would feel too much like Iron Man. See what I mean about conundrums?
This is the thing. I don't feel like Adam has any good role to play in this show. He is there to launch his own show.
Right.
I don't think the storyline's going anywhere. I don't think it's going anywhere in terms of a certain point at the season finale, because they want to launch their own show. He's become the Atom now. We're not going to see very much of him, and it's going to be like, what was that whole storyline for? No idea.
Yeah, what did it mean to Oliver other than somebody taking your company away?
Nothing.
It's interesting. Like, I agree that, hey, okay, showing the test thing, that might be kind of Iron Man-esque, but it's realistic. Like, in those instances, like if you strapped on even to the most physically fit, even onto the most whatever human being, technologically savvy human being in the world, you strap on jet boosters onto your feet and your back and your hands. You can't tell me that in 5 seconds they got this.
Right.
They're flying around a building at however fast.
Right.
That sort of thing. That just, I don't know. It was weird to me, and I was like, why do we even need that?
Why do we even need this character in this show?
And that was the point that I made on the main podcast, was that, okay, so they're spinning off this show into its own thing. I am appreciative of this, and I think I will be okay with this, because if that means that his character will actually give me a reason to care, if giving him his own show and his own storyline and his own villains and his own reason to be there on his own show works, then I'm more okay with him being on his own show than I am co-opting Arrow.
I agree with that. Yeah, he's taking a valuable screen time that we could use for something else. The only reason I will watch his show at this point, though, is because of his relationship to this larger universe. Not because I find his character compelling.
True.
Not because I like his character. Not even because I like, like what they've done with what they're doing with his superhero. Like I don't care. I do not care about this guy.
Yeah.
Never have. They haven't ever given me a reason to care.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I really just don't know what role he's playing here. Like, I mean, it seems like this unrelated kind of thing going on, similar to the way we had Isabel. It seems like they just have one too many characters on this show. Like Isabel Rochef last season, it seemed like they just didn't do they couldn't do anything cool with her, and so they had this weird out with her, making her evil and stuff. So I mean, it's just it's almost like they consistently have one too many characters on this show. Season 2, the one extra character was Laurel. Through a lot of it as well. I mean, we had that whole thing where they didn't quite know what to do with her, and so I feel like they may be running into that with this,
Yeah, I think they're just trying to shoehorn him in someplace where it doesn't necessarily fit, and it shows,
Yeah. And so again, if his show spins off, gives him a good reason, and I'll check it out,
Yeah.
And so hopefully that'll take care of that. I also hope that he doesn't steal Captain Cold completely away from Flash.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with I don't know, I don't know why they've set up Captain Cold as this huge villain that everyone fights.
Yeah, that everyone fights.
Right.
You're right. I don't know, but I love Captain Cold. I love that villain, and he's cool with the Flash. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what he's gonna do with the Atom, really.
Yeah.
Is that it? That's pretty much it.
I think that's it. Do you have any quotes? Oh wait, hang on. Boots on or wait?
How many boots?
Yeah. I'm gonna give this a 3-booter.
I'm going to give this a 3-booter as well. Yeah. Definitely one of those middle-of-the-road building episodes, not one of the epic ones where there's and in fact, there, like we said, there's a couple of things where it's just I don't quite grasp why.
Yeah.
And so that's the only reason why.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, quotes.
Yes.
Let me see. We have Thea, who, while talking to the gang, she says, "We're not in any danger anymore. Not you or me. But Malcolm, he's in plenty of danger." And then we have the one from Nyssa, like I said earlier, it says, "It's honorable that you want to avenge your sister, but it's over now. Consider her avenged." I love that. Mm-hmm. Let me see. And then whenever we have Oliver fighting Nyssa, I did want to make this point. Oliver says, "That's not justice, that's revenge." And Nyssa says, "They're the same." And I kind of agree. In this instance, Malcolm is not a good dude.
Right. I mean, what's interesting is there was this is difficult because of the way that there was a trial.
Yes.
This week. Do you know about? Okay, so. Yes. In the real world, there was a trial this week that was kind of highly televised or highly publicized. And it's okay, someone who killed someone else was found guilty. And it's okay, whenever justice is done, I mean, revenge is always pointed in a bad light. I'm not saying revenge is good, but justice and revenge kind of equal the same thing. It just depends on your motivation. Are you trying to punish someone, or do you want justice? Well, revenge is basically because you can have revenge without justice, because it can be not even true justice.
Right.
You can have justice without revenge based on are your motivations where are your motivations?
Right.
But I think for Nyssa they are one and the same, but they're not one and the same overall.
Gotcha. So it's true for what each character was saying is true for both characters.
It's true for Nyssa that revenge and justice are the same thing.
But for Oliver,
she's gotten revenge. But for Oliver, no,
they don't equate the same thing.
Yeah,
makes sense. Good. I like that analysis. And we have Diggle, who talking to Oliver says, "Oliver, I know what you're doing and why you're doing it. But you can't save Thea's soul at the cost of your own." That was a good one. I mean, it's... Yeah. Anyway. Let me see. Then we have Laurel, who's standing there after we lock up Nissa, who says, "Taking prisoners. Isn't that a little over the line?" And then Felicity replies and says, "Actually, Oliver has an entire prison on Lian Yu."
Yes, that was fun.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I think, let me see. All right. So the last one that I'll say, Diggle, Oliver, chained up, and Diggle says, "So pretending for just 1 minute that we're not two dead men chained to the floor. How do you feel about being my best man?" It's awesome.
Yes.
Diggle wedding. I really want to see that.
Yeah, and I do too. And I like the fact that he actually got to go on this adventure.
Oh my gosh, that was so cool!
Yeah.
I love Diggle, man.
I do too.
So
I guess we're gone for a while, for a couple weeks at least, on this show.
Yeah.
So you can check us out on StayOnTargetPodcast.com, our main podcast.
We'll be there.
Yeah, this week we talked about the Academy Awards and the results of that. My trip to watch all the Best Picture nominees. You can find all that on StayOnTargetPodcast.com. You can also catch up on Flash on Target if you are not. We podcast about CW's The Flash every week as well. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time on
Arrow on Target.